Have you ever stood in a crowded room and felt completely invisible? Like you were a ghost in your own life, surrounded by people, but utterly alone. For me, that feeling wasn't just a mood. It was my reality. It was this constant, heavy cloak I wore, a silent scream that nobody could hear. I was a chameleon, changing my colors so often to blend in that I'd forgotten my own. I smiled at parties where I didn't know a single soul. Not one of them knew mine. I'd nod in meetings, my ideas caught in my throat, dying before they even had a chance to be heard. I was present, but I was completely absent. Until one day, a cryptic message appeared, seemingly from the universe itself. And it set me on a journey to find where I truly belonged, the weight of invisibility. For years, this sense of being adrift was my normal. It wasn't some dramatic movie-style loneliness. It was a quiet, grinding erosion of myself. It was the feeling of being perpetually out of sync with the rhythm of the world. I'd go to bustling cafes, sit with a book, and just watch groups of friends laugh, their connections looking so effortless, so real. I'd feel this pang of longing so sharp it was almost physical, a hunger for something that felt impossibly out of reach. It turns out, this feeling is surprisingly common. This sense of being lost in a crowd, which often comes from a deep lack of genuine connection. Or when you start asking yourself those big, scary, what's it all for? Questions. I remember one night so clearly. It was a birthday party for a colleague. The room was loud, filled with music and chatter. People were huddled in these tight circles, sharing stories, their faces lit up with joy. I stood at the edge of one of those circles, drink in my hand, a fake smile plastered on my face. I tried to follow the conversation, to find an opening, but the words felt like foreign objects in my mouth. It was like I was watching a movie of my own life instead of actually living it. My presence felt optional. I was convinced that if I just vanished into thin air, the laughter would continue, the music would play on, and not a single person would notice I was gone for at least an hour. That night, I went home and felt the crushing weight of that invisibility settle over me. It wasn't just that I was lonely. It was that I felt fundamentally misunderstood, like I was speaking a language no one else knew. This feeling bled into every part of my life. I became an expert at observation, a silent spectator. With my family, I was the quiet one, the one who listened more than she spoke. Not out of wisdom, but out of a fear that my stories weren't interesting enough. At work, I'd watch others brainstorm with this fiery passion, their ideas just flowing, while mine stayed locked away, judged unworthy before they were even fully formed. I was a master of agreeability, a professional nodder. The cost of this constant performance was immense. It was exhausting. I felt hollowed out, like a beautifully decorated shell with nothing inside. I had hit a quiet, desperate rock bottom. The universe felt like a vast, empty expanse, and I was just a speck of dust, lost and insignificant. I had pretty much resigned myself to this, believing this was just who I was meant to be. A ghost in the machine of life. The first message. A crack in the gray, and then something shifted. It wasn't a lightning strike. It wasn't some grand revelation. It was small, quiet, and deeply strange. It was a Tuesday afternoon, a day just like any other, painted in shades of gray monotony. I was walking home from work, head down, lost in that familiar loop of self-pity. As I passed a huge digital billboard that usually flashed ads for soda and new cars, it flickered. It went black for a second, and then, instead of an ad, A single line of white text appeared on the screen. It said, "The universe is singing you a song. Are you listening?" I just stopped. I stared at it, waiting for the punchline, for it to change back to an ad for a smartphone. But it just stayed there, holding that sentence against the black screen. People rushed past me, faces buried in their phones, completely oblivious. Was it a glitch, some kind of street art, a clever marketing campaign I just didn't get? My logical mind tried to dismiss it, to file it away as just another random city weirdness. But another part of me, a part I hadn't heard from in years, felt a tiny tremor of something else. Curiosity. The message was so specific, so poetic. The song? The universe. It felt like a line from a forgotten fairy tale. Not something you see on a busted billboard on a random Tuesday. After what felt like forever, but was probably only 30 seconds. The screen flickered again, and an ad for a bank popped up. It was gone. But the image was burned into my mind. I guess you could call it one of those signs from the universe people talk about, where something unexpected, even a tech glitch, makes you stop and really think for a second. For the rest of the walk home, I couldn't shake it. The universe is singing you a song. The phrase echoed in the emptiness I felt inside. For the first time in a very long time, it felt like something was speaking directly to me, even if I couldn't understand what it was saying. It was a single, perfect note that cut right through the noise of my own despair. The quest begins. Following the trail. After the billboard, my world started to feel different. Or maybe I was the one who was different. I started to pay attention. I started listening. And I began to notice other things, small coincidences, that felt way too meaningful to be random. I later learned there's a word for this: synchronicity. It's this idea that the universe gives you little winks to show you you're on the right path, especially when you feel lost. A few days after seeing the message, I was in a bookstore, just aimlessly browsing, when a book from a high shelf inexplicably tumbled down and landed right at my feet. The title was The Art of Listening. I bought it without a second thought. The messages kept coming, like breadcrumbs on a trail I didn't even know I was following. I'd be wrestling with a feeling of deep frustration, and I'd walk past a cafe where the song playing would have the exact lyrics I needed to hear. I started seeing the number sequence 1111 everywhere. On my phone, on receipts, on license plates. I found out later that for many people, these repeating numbers are like a classic sign of a spiritual wake-up call. I would think of an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years, and moments later, they'd text me out of the blue. At first, I was skeptical, even a little scared. Was I just making all of this up in my head? Was this a symptom of my loneliness, a desperate attempt to find meaning where there was none? The fear that I was just being delusional was strong, but the feeling that came with these moments wasn't madness. It was peace. It was a quiet, humming feeling of being seen. It felt like I was in on a cosmic inside joke, a secret wink from reality itself. Each sign, each little synchronicity, was another note in the song the billboard had told me about. I wasn't just a ghost anymore. I was a detective on a scavenger hunt designed by some invisible, benevolent force. I didn't know what I was looking for. But for the first time in forever, I felt a sense of purpose. My heart, which had felt so lost in the vast, cold universe, now felt like it was being guided by it. The quest had begun. This journey started a conversation, not just with the world around me, but with myself. And now I want to start one with you. Leave me a comment below and tell me about the synchronicities you've noticed in your life. What are the signs the universe has sent you? Are there numbers you see over and over, or songs that seem to play at the perfect moment? I want to hear your stories, because I really believe they're all notes in the same beautiful cosmic song. The solution. Finding belonging. Within the biggest revelation on this whole journey was both simple and completely earth-shattering. The entire quest was an inside job. I had been looking for a home outside of myself, for a tribe that would finally get me, for a place I would fit in. But all the messages, the synchronicities, the universal song, they weren't leading me to a place. They were leading me back to myself. The feeling of belonging I had craved so badly wasn't something to be found. It was something I had to create. My life didn't magically transform into some perfect movie. I still have moments of doubt. I still feel awkward at parties sometimes. The difference is, the ghost is gone. I'm not an invisible spectator in my own life anymore. I'm the main character. When I walk into a crowded room now, I feel grounded in myself. I don't have that frantic need to perform or to chameleon my way into a conversation. I can stand in comfortable silence, just observing, not out of fear, but out of genuine curiosity. I can find joy in the solitude of being in a crowd, feeling the energy without feeling erased by it. The greatest gift the universe gave me was permission to be myself, fully and unapologetically. I started that hobby I always wanted to try, but was afraid I'd be bad at. I started sharing my opinions, even when they were different. I learned to enjoy my own company, to take myself on dates, to listen to the music of my own soul. The universe I had felt so lost in wasn't some cold, distant thing. I came to see it as this interconnected web of everything. And my heart wasn't lost in it. It was a vital part of it. The messages weren't coming from some man in the sky. They were coming from the deepest parts of my own intuition, reflected back at me by the world just to get my attention. The universe was reminding me of a truth I had forgotten. I was already home. The journey from feeling like a ghost in a crowded world to feeling deeply connected to everything wasn't about changing the world. It was about changing how I saw it. It was about learning to listen. The truth is, the universe is always communicating with all of us. It speaks in meaningful coincidences, in the lyrics of a song that feels like it was written just for you, in the unexpected kindness of a stranger. That feeling of being lost isn't a punishment. It's an invitation. It's the starting point of a sacred quest to find your way back to your own heart. You're not alone, and this season of your life, no matter how isolating it feels, might be exactly what you need to reconnect with your true self. The universe is singing you a song. It always has been. The only question is, are you listening? If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the heart of the universe and the heart of ourselves. Thanks for listening.